All right.
I think you're gonna start, right?
Yeah, this is me starting. I can't wait till we hear this and Ashley Rose includes this whole part. It's gonna be so good. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our inaugural episode of Active Breath. Active Breath is the brand new podcast from MVM Miller Voice Method. My name is Kyle Cameron, and I am here with
Scott Miller.
That's him.
Of the Miller Voice Method.
Yes, we're going to get into that. Your name is in the title, so we're going to have to get into that.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. So here we are. We'll start with some introductions, basically, and let you know who we are, and then we'll talk a little bit about what this is that we're doing here. Sound good, Scott?
Sounds good.
So my name is Kyle Cameron. I am an actor. I live in Brooklyn. What else do you need to know about me? I am a certified Miller Voice Method teacher. We'll talk a lot about the certification program as well as the days go by. I first encountered this work in grad school. I am a Canadian, and I came down to New York for grad school in 2011. And Scott was my teacher back in the day. I did the NYU graduate acting program. Scott, I guess I started working with you in second year back in those days. I had another teacher for the first year. I think about the days that we spent laying on the floor with our legs up the wall in Wall V. And I think of, the first times I did some of the jaw exercises and just people having these incredibly, painful but also useful experiences with encountering their jaw tension. And so I studied with Scott at school, and it was 2020, summer 2020, and I had become unemployed a couple times over by that point. I'd been furloughed from my restaurant job, and then of course the theater had been shut down, and then the restaurant that I had been furloughed from closed in August. So I became not just, out of my job, but out of a job. And my roommate at the time, who was my classmate at grad school, Joshua David Robinson, said, "I'm doing this certification with Scott Miller that starts next week. Do you want to do it?" And I said, "Well, I'm not doing literally anything else. So sure, why not?"
That's how we got that class really to form. I'm really not doing anything else.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jessica Savage as well. I reached out to her and basically did the same thing, and she ended up in the same class. And so, did the certification program. It took a year, I think, at the time. It was the first Zoom version of the certification. Did a lot of classes on Zoom, and then did the in-person component at the end. And I've been teaching in the cert program since not too long after that. I'm on the faculty. I teach a couple of different classes, mostly the intellectual, psychological classes, breath dilemmas and models, things like that, but a few of the physical classes as well. And I am also the director of the MVM Academy, which we will talk about also as the days go by. Essentially, the idea behind that is that MVM exists in a lot of academic programs and is growing hopefully into more of those kinds of programs. But we wanted to create a place where folks who are not enrolled in, the graduate acting program at NYU or a BFA program, wherever it might be, could have an opportunity to learn this material. So we've been developing that for a couple of years, figuring out how to get this work out to more folks, both actors and non-actors, by the way, and we'll touch more on that today. Yeah, I think that's basically what you need to know about me. I live in Brooklyn with my partner and our cat, and I'm a working actor. I just finished a run of The Hills of California, which was the first fully American production of Jez Butterworth's award-winning new classic. We played at the Huntington in Boston and just finished a run in Berkeley, California. So I'm back home in Brooklyn figuring out what my next steps are. Scott, who are you?
Wow, that is a really amazing introduction. I'm a little jealous.
Are you? Good.
Yeah,
I'm glad
yeah.
somebody's jealous of my life.
No, it's so well put together and specific, and I'm a little scared I'm going to start to wander. As
well,
I will.
you are going to start to wander, and they should know that. And that's good, because that's part of what we like about you. And also, it's partly my job to go, okay, how do we get an off ramp from this wander? So by all means, your leash is off, my friend. Go for it.
Oh boy. Okay. I am. My name is Scott Miller, and I live in New York, and I teach at the graduate acting program at NYU. Is one of my jobs, and another job I have is a father and a husband. Been married about. Oh, I shouldn't say about, should I? I've been married 18 years, and each day still is a wonder to me. Each day I do feel like I'm living with strangers. There's three children running around in the house, a 17 and 15 and 14-year-old. And they constantly remind me that I am of very little value to the world, and I should not think I am in any regard, which is, really helpful and illuminating and true to some degree, right?
Yeah.
I'm constantly heard saying the refrain, "But you don't understand. Other people think what I say is important. So other people listen to me. Why aren't you?" So anyway, I try to take that note and, pretty much stay out of the way in my parenting as much as possible, because I know that if I impose a little bit too much, quote unquote, direction, I'll just basically imposing myself onto their very unique character and developing character. So that's always fun to figure out that balance of, where are the boundaries that I can provide so they could feel more secure, and where am I providing boundaries so I can feel more secure?
Yes. And I think we will come to talk about this as the days go by, because that philosophy, I think, is baked into what MVM is and how it is meant to be taught. So I think we'll come back to that.
Yeah, absolutely. I see what you did there. That's really good. That's really good. Nicely
Future
done.
episodes, hook them,
and also keep me from wandering too far. So yes, that's part of my identity. I play sports. That's part of my identity. I have buddies I play basketball with, and I used to play softball with. I'm getting older now, so I no longer do that so much. And MVM, Miller Voice Method, Miller Communication Consulting, basically all things that is and are this methodology, and how it keeps growing and integrates into the world is the other very large hat I wear. And I wear it mostly as a consultant, in the sense of, content czar, but not really, corporate business czar, because that's not my specialty. So as we grow, we're trying to recruit more people that have that facility to help us out. And then, with the methodology, many things, since it's at its base, it's an integrative methodology. It doesn't kind of exist onto its own. At least, really, the core mission of it is not a solo act. It wants to partner with not only other approaches, but also other experiences in life humans encounter. So, so there's that, and the other aspect of Miller Voice Method is about research. I'm really jazzed as being a researcher, and not only developing different protocols, but also continuously questioning whether what I think is valid, appropriate to the situation at hand, having the results that I think they're having. Voice is such an interesting thing. I mean, you can measure voice, right? We have these instruments to measure voice and the qualities of voice, the frequencies of voice, the speed of voice, et cetera.
Sure.
But how all that conjugates to an algorithm of persuasiveness, likability, non-persuasiveness, et cetera, et cetera.
Sure.
That's really...
And all of the subjective elements of that too, right? All of those things, they may be statistically quantifiable, but they are fundamentally subjective experiences, right?
Exactly.
Persuasion, likability.
Exactly. And then how do you take that kind of subjectivity grouping, and if you find enough of groupings of subjectivity, how does that then move into objectivity, right?
Mm-hmm.
That we can teach from, that we can point to, that we can coach navigation around. That's really interesting to me as well. So
lots there.
Yeah.
Lots there to pin and pick up later.
Yeah.
Is there anything else in your sort of intro bio sense that you feel like is of use to folks before we
I hadn't thought of that, but now that you say that, what are the, as we, have the conversations with people who are interested in signing up for the teacher certification process, when sometimes I interview the person, or Christy Dana, who's the director of the program, interviews the person. And I don't even like the word interview. Really, it's a discussion to see if this is appropriate or not, So one of the questions in the discussion is, outside all this, voice and teaching and all the rest of the stuff, like what are some of your interests? What are your hobbies? So if I were to ask myself that question, I think I for some reason I really like spy movies, like
fascinating,
intriguing movies. Like I want to like comedies, and I want to like dramas. But if there's not a kind of I not in my heart of hearts.
Interesting.
It's not like what gets me out of bed and like turns on that, that device. But
spy movies.
But even dramas, if there's a little bit of kind of like intrigue and spy, sometimes superhero, but I'm not totally superhero person. It's unless there's a mystery element to it. Comedies, there has to be kind of a mystery element to me.
Interesting to me. What do you think that, I'm surprised by that as a person who's, I wouldn't say you and I are intimate friends, but I have known you for 15 years, and I am surprised to hear that a spy movie is what gets you going. Do you although I will say, I do feel like, and I think this is borne out in the work to a certain extent, you are interested in suspense.
Yes.
You're interested in the phenomenon of suspense and all of the ways that manifests, and it comes up in the work over and over. And is that the thing that you are intrigued by? Is that one of your driving sort of desires?
Yeah, that's good. I mean, I hadn't thought of it, but if we can reverse engineer it, I think you're right. It's that obsession with how the human wants to get ahead of everything to feel safer. And when I can't quite get ahead of it, it's intriguing to me what they're doing to me for that to happen. Of course, I'm conscious of all that when I'm involved in the flow of the experience, but
yes.
And the history element too. There's something about like feeling like I've been born 75,000 times, and it's like, oh yeah, back in the Roman days, I remember that. Oh yeah, back in World War II, I really hated Hitler. Or back in,
right.
And there's a flying aspect too. I have a lot of dreams with flying, and there's always one of my first survival jobs when I graduated college. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. This is, I took a year off, and eventually I went to law school. But in that year, one of the first jobs I had was, that person that delivers the luggage when you lose it on the plane to your front door? That was me.
I've never had that experience, but I'm fascinated that was your job.
That's amazing. Yeah, so I could have a job at the airport. That's why I did it. So I could watch the planes go, take off and land and be around the terminals. And there's just something about whether being a pilot in a different lifetime or wanting always to be a pilot. But I've never studied or have got my pilot's license or anything like that. And
I find love of flight and fascination with flight to be a very relatable experience. I find love of the airport to be a deeply unrelatable experience. But I'm glad that those two things connect for you. I love that because you like logistics and how things function, at least. Maybe not logistics, but how things function. I get that about you.
That's true. I love airports. I love
spy
airports.
Movies.
Yeah,
spy
I love watching people in airports. That's really cool too.
Yes. I will Venn diagram overlap with you there because I do love watching people in general. I have this memory of when I was in high school drama class. We had a teacher who had us, we had to do a journal. We had to keep a lot of acting programs, and we'll probably get into this, voice programs too. Encourage you to keep a journal where you write down observations about human beings in the world, right? Because as actors, one of the ways people approach acting or think about acting is as a student of like what sorts of things people do and how can I embody that, pirate that, steal that. And I will never forget, there was this woman in an airport who was like she was a staff member. She was in her crisp whatever airline it was uniform, and she had a very specific walk, and the way that she sort of flicked her wrist with every step was very specific. And because I wrote this down in this journal, I can remember this woman. I can visually remember. I can see her walking the terminal right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think about it. The people who come to the airport, the patrons who come to the airport, and even the personnel that works on the plane, they are involved intentionally in a journey, in something that's about to happen, very consciously and very intentionally, moving into the unknown. Where of course we're all doing that all the time, but there's something about like highlighting that, and leaving behind
simultaneously
something.
Giving the performance of knowing exactly what's about to happen, because that's what we need, right? And we'll talk about this. This comes up in the models too. We as humans in a society, we look for repeatability and safety and predictability in events like flights. We need those people to perform normalcy for us, because what we are about to do is intrinsically not normal. It is deeply bizarre and wildly unpredictable, so we need that performance. Whereas in our spy movies, we want the surprise. We want that element of suspense, of unpredictability.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, precisely.
What an intro. I gotta say, I was not expecting to cover this kind of ground at the beginning of this.
I think that's how we're gonna roll. I mean, nor was I. Yeah. So we'll see what happens. So
listen, tell me a little bit about, the question on my outline here is, what is MVM? And like, I think you and I both know that the answer to that could fill 50 episodes. But as the founder, and I think CEO, is that also correct? Is that actually your title?
At the moment, it is. Yes.
At the moment, for now.
Yes.
Tell me about MVM. How, like, what's your elevator pitch? What is this thing that we do?
Miller Voice Method is an approach that uses voice and breath as its foundation to embody real-time experiences. At its core, that's all it is. Okay. And those real-time experiences are the way we integrate into other component parts, other methodologies, other situations, other demographics. But we're really focused in Miller Voice Method on presence and how a person gets into the state of presence and stays predominantly in a flow state, and what gets them out of that flow state. And, the company is a bunch of teachers, faculty members, students, other people, researchers, exactly, who are really compelled by that question. And amped by it. So that's really at the core, and that's been the evolution of it, and that's what's created these schools and these certification programs and these video series and all of the rest of that stuff.
Is this work fundamentally tied to acting?
No, not really. Frankly, it was born out of acting because that was the lowest hanging fruit. A group of people that were interested in extemporaneous expression. Sometimes dealing with verbatimly memorized information, and how to get out of the trap of doing something that's past or regurgitating the past into the present, rehearsed, but using that, using that as a craft to really catapult you into being super present and dealing with the variation and unpredictability. Really, it's never predictable at its core of the present moment of what's actually happening in real time.
And over the years, I get the sense that you've expanded your sense of where that applies, right? It may have begun in acting because that's where you were interested, and like you said, it's where you found people who are interested in this. But we've been applying this work. You've been applying this work with all sorts of different folks. In their both personal and professional lives, right? Because presence is of value to all different kinds of folks in different kinds of areas.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, if we can think of the acting sphere as the research lab, really, that's always been just the research lab. And by the way, it makes a really compelling actor as well. But that's just kind of a byproduct. That wasn't really, and it still isn't ever the focus. It's this, what could we offer the world? What better could I personally, offer the world than some kind of information on how to actually be present? And not only for performance aspects, but in your life, in your parenting, with yourself, and how to deal with that present information in an embodied way, fully embodied way, not just and that this all goes into neuroscience and what embodied even means, which we'll talk about in other episodes. But that was the motivating, and continues to be the motivating factor.
Nice.
How MVM came about was just I went to law school, and actually while I was in law school, I started to act. Could take classes for free at the university. I went to George Washington University, and I was a resident assistant at the time, and my co-resident assistant was an actor, and she was like, "Hey, I'm going to this audition. You want to come?" And I was like, "Sure, whatever." And it was small. What else am I doing, right? I'm just going to law school. What else am I doing?
Right.
So it was a small little theater. Off campus theater group or whatever, and I got a very small role, and that was it. I got the bug on that. I was also studying to be a criminal defense attorney, so being a trial attorney has a lot of performative aspects to it. So anyway, took classes, got involved in productions, and by the time I graduated, I had been fortunate. I had gotten a need-based scholarship to go to law school. At the time, this is, I graduated in 1989. So at the time, that law school bill was, $20,000 a year. But at the time, that was a lot of money.
For sure.
And it had been completely covered. And also I had been working residence life. So room and board was covered. So long way of saying, I didn't have a big student loan debt or undergraduate debt. Limiting my ability to dream and imagine a life.
What a privilege.
That I know, right? So by the end of law school, I was like, you know what? I really love law, and I really love criminal defense, and I had clerked for the Public Defender Service in DC, which is one of the model defender services in the country, and an amazing lawyer under. So, only positive experiences is what I mean to say in law school. So it wasn't like, law, this is terrible, which a lot of my classmates felt. Because I think they went into law not really knowing what they wanted to do. And at that point in the 80s, early 90s, if you didn't know what you wanted to do, a lot of people just went into law school to kind of delay the decision experience. So
really?
that wasn't my case at all. I really was amped to do it, and I knew specifically what I wanted to do. But so anyway, by the end, I had this question I had to answer, which was, what do I love more? Do I love law more? Do I love acting more? And the answer was acting. So I before I moved to New York, I was about to move to New York, but I had this yen to go play professional baseball, and again, born out of this non-debt filled clutter in my mind, I was like, okay, I was 27 at the time, and it's like, okay, if I want to be a professional baseball player, I probably should be a pitcher because I'm too old to be a position player. And this is all ludicrous as I hear myself saying it out loud.
You don't lack for interests. You really, really don't. Curiosity is not a thing that you lack.
It might be the mystery thing, right? On some level.
Yeah, suspense.
So, but of course, I didn't really know how to pitch. And I played baseball growing up. I played a lot of sports growing up. And as a kind of means to survive, as opposed to drugs or alcohol. And so it became sports became a bit of an addiction for me, and it's put in a lot of hours. So I felt pretty confident in baseball, but I didn't really know how to pitch. So I had to enlist some support, some friends who knew how to pitch. They started to teach me, and long story longer, I eventually looked around. We're approaching winter now, and I thought, I can't just show up at spring training at a professional, baseball team, and I must train in some level. And so I went around and looked at all the different winter professional leagues in the world and decided on Mexico. And again, didn't have a contact that just flew down to Mexico on my own and to Mexico City with glove in hand and they had just started their season. So I'd started to kind of scout different teams, different locations, and found this one team and location. Watched the game. After the game, I hunted down the owner and exaggerated my abilities to the owner, which is called a lie.
Wow.
I completely lied to the owner, and I said, I was thinking, okay, which lie am I least likely to get caught on here? And I said, okay. I said, I'm a minor league pitcher in the Milwaukee Brewers organization, and Milwaukee was terrible at the time, AA, and I'm down here to work on some pitches. Can I get a tryout? And the guy was like, yeah, sure. Well, let's set up a tryout for you. So I got a tryout from that, and I made the team, and that was
wild.
Yeah, it was an extraordinary experience. Not the least of which was baseball, but most of which was just these interpersonal relationships I had with the team and the teammates, and culturally and language wise, et cetera. It was wonderful.
We're going to have to talk about sports on an episode sometime, because I mean, I don't know if you know this about me, but I don't know anything about sports. As a gay kid who grew up, being not bullied, but sort of ostracized in my high school gym classes, team sports have been my nightmare for most of my life. And hearing you talk about, the interpersonal relationships, like, this provides me a place to actually become curious about what happens on a sports team.
That's great. Yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah.
So how do we get from baseball in Mexico up into MVM? What is that? Because I know that the athletics is a part of is one of the building blocks for sure of how we get to NYU and whatnot.
Yeah. I mean, so I played, and of course I didn't really know how to pitch well, and so I completely ripped my rotator cuff, my labrum apart, and just completely injured my shoulder, and so by the end I was like, yeah, okay, I'm done. This is good. Fantasy checked. I think let's go on to the next fantasy, which is acting.
How long was that?
That was only about a 4-month period one season.
Okay.
And then I moved to New York on January 1st, 1990. And coldest day of my life that I can remember. It was I couldn't feel, like, they had put the public phones. I was pushing the push buttons. I couldn't feel my fingers. Anyway, so moved into New York, into Lower East Side. My rent was $250 a month. We did have rats running across our floor, so it was a bit of a tenement.
You got what you paid for.
You got what you paid for. Lived with a lot of interesting folk, and then started, thinking I knew a lot about acting. I realized I knew very little, so I went back to school and studied at the Neighborhood Playhouse for a year. They didn't ask me back, but I did get to experience Sanford. That took a while to get over. Sure. The fact that I can say this out loud publicly on a podcast is a really good sign that I've gotten some resolution with that.
That's good.
So, but I did have a chance to work with Sanford Meisner a little bit. He was very old. I think he was over 90 at the time, and so that was kind of interesting. And then I worked with Uta Hagen for about four or 5 years at her studio.
Wow, I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, it was amazing to be in her class, and the author of all these books, and an amazing actor. Learned a lot about acting, but I learned a lot about life from that class and her conversations. And I think one of the most enduring things I learned, which has really something to do with MVM, is I would watch her at all different phases of her acting process. She was still acting at the time, and whether it was a first reading or a stage reading or a early rehearsal process or et cetera. And every time I saw her, no matter at what point of process she was at, she would go at it like a dog at a bone. She would be like incredibly invested. And I, as a young actor, thought what you do in acting is, you creep along, you don't try your hardest or best because you're not sure if that choice makes sense. And eventually, when you come to some wisdom and correctness, then that's when you really, resolution on some level. That's when you give it your all.
How do I know until I know?
Right. Yeah. And I went up to her after one class and I said, Miss Hagen, that's what we would call her, Miss Hagen. This fascinates me about your process, that how you go at everything no matter where you are in the process. And she looked at me and she goes, well, I don't know if a choice works otherwise.
Yes.
And I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
What are those defining moments of everything else goes away and into a tunnel, it just hits you. And I knew at that moment, this is more than an acting tip. This is a life lesson for me personally, because I would kind of nonchalant my way as a protective tool into experiences, right? And through a lot of therapy, I really understand why that is about myself now, and also understand when I do that, what I'm trying to protect, et cetera, et cetera. But at the time, that was revelatory. So. Worked as an actor a little bit, did a lot of solo stuff. I had a couple production companies, a couple theater companies. And looking back now, the thing that most interested me in the work, it was the research, was the investigation. And I think now, knowing that about myself, it's really clear that I chose this profession because it is such a quick recipe for human investigation and human behavior. Not only looking at the human from afar, like a laboratory rat, but actually being in the experience and knowing what the rat feels like when they're going through the maze and getting the little jolts because they did something wrong of electricity, and that's really what all that provided me, because I've been teaching wise, I started teaching literally when I was 12 years old, adults, because I had played sports a lot. I'd been advanced in sports, so I could teach sports to people older than me at a very young age. So teaching was just something, now that I've been doing for literally the last 50 years of my life.
Yeah.
But I didn't really understand it as teaching, right, in some regard. And now that I look back, everything that I have been doing has been about the study of teaching. And the impact of teaching. So anyway, went through that, started studying, got to a place with my personal instrument that I was so frustrated and felt so blocked that for the 100th time, probably, someone said to me, Scott, you're a pretty good actor, but you should work on your voice and your speech. And
interesting.
And for some reason, at that moment, I heard it, and meaning action-based hearing. And And this is like this divine stuff, because it's like, okay, at that moment, someone who I really respected, I heard it, and this person reaches into their pocketbook and pulls out a card and says, I don't know this person. Someone just gave me this card, like casually, so at a party or something. But check out this person. They might be good. So I willingly took the card, called that number, and that person turned out to be Shane-Ann Yance, who is a teacher. Yep, who's currently a teacher at NYU Grad Acting. And absolutely, and she had a private practice and private studio, and
still does, I believe.
She still does. She's still going, and worked with her for 2 years. Completely transformed my voice. Did a lot of therapy at the same time, and a lot of somatic based therapy, so I could move a lot of energy. And basically stopped acting and then went back into kind of a Meisner somatic base. It was really more of a somatic based acting class than even Meisner, and worked through a lot of things there as well. And then she hooked me up with her. Shane-Ann hooked me up with her mentor, who was he's deceased now, a guy named Robert Neff Williams, who's a teacher at Juilliard and the old chair there, and brilliant guy. Worked with him for a year, and by that time, when you work with these highly esteemed professionals, when someone calls them up and says, "Hey, do you have a recommendation for somebody?" which is oft the case, still is. It's which is like finding a plumber. You'd rather go to some source of validation rather than closing your eyes.
The Yellow Pages.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they this job at Rutgers in their MFA program came up for a speech teacher, and they recommended me. And at this point, as long as I didn't crap on the desk, I'm pretty much guaranteed of the job. Yeah. And I got a call from the late Bill Esper at the time. I had typhoid fever literally at the time.
Oh my, typhoid.
That's another funny story, how I realized I had typhoid fever, but it contracted it from New York, not leaving the country.
Fascinating.
It was a great acting exercise, because I had apparently I had a temperature of like 107 for a couple of days. This was in the summertime.
That's fatal. What?
Yeah, I didn't know it at the time. So, whatever. I'm having these night sweats, cold sweats, going through this thing for a couple of days. And I finally call up an acting friend who's also a doctor. And I say, "Hey, listen, I'm feeling this and feeling that." And she goes, "Well, take your temperature." And I did. And it was like 106 and a half. She goes, I said, "Yeah, it's like 106 and a half. And all I hear, and I'm talking to her like I'm talking to you right now. And all I hear is, "What?"
Exactly.
And she goes, "Get yourself in a cab right now." And,
go to the hospital.
But it was a great acting exercise, because the minute I hear her voice and the panic in her voice, I suddenly descend into like a 94-year-old man. And I'm suddenly like, "Oh, okay, yeah, okay, I'll try to do that. Oh, but it's really that bad." I just completely transformed.
This external piece of information completely changes your internal experience.
That's right. So I'm in the hospital with typhoid fever. They finally cure it, but I get the call from Bill Esper. This is the interview, and so we have the talk, and Bill's like, "Tell me what you do," and I tell him what I do, and then at the end of the call, he goes, "Okay, all right, that sounds pretty good, but pretty good. Yeah, it's pretty good, but you need to leave the acting to me." So I was like, but that was the first moment of like, integration. Oh,
yes, silos.
What I'm talking about is not the silo of a speech class that I'm interested in. I'm interested in how speech or voice actually integrates into acting. And if you're not interested in that, then sure, I can teach, speech and I can teach voice. But the minute it gets into their acting, that's where I start to see it fall apart. So I think that's the genesis of MVM, and then I started teaching in that MFA program, and used it as a lab, basically recruiting researchers, and started tinkering and started thinking about all the holes that I perceived as an actor and as an acting student in American actor training. and the inconsistencies, and really I had the benefit of all my athletic training and great coaching.
Yes.
And kind of comparing those two models and thinking, well, this is weird. Like the voice teacher is not supposed to talk about acting, and the movement person's not supposed to talk about acting. And then the acting teacher doesn't generally know a lot about movement and voice.
Right, right.
Wow. You couldn't create a more inefficient system if you tried, which was very, very different than in sports. Whether you're the pitching coach, the hitting coach, the field, you're a baseball coach, and you're supposed to know. Yeah, you're supposed to know everything about everything. The pitching coach knows a lot about hitting.
Why do you think that siloing happened in American acting training?
Yeah, that's a great question.
I don't really know much about it. I mean, I'm Canadian. We don't, I might get in trouble for this. I don't feel like we have a strong tradition of Canadian acting training. The Canadian actor is not a sort of known commodity in the way that the American actor, with capital A's, is kind of known and understood. So the whole concept was relatively new to me when I came to grad school. And so it just was like, okay, this is how you do it. We have a movement teacher, we have a voice teacher, we have an acting teacher. That's how y'all do it. So I guess that's how I'm going to do it. But I don't really know where the nature of that comes from.
Yeah, I think now I think that would be a great guest to get on. I mean, I'll hack away at it a little bit. I mean, pre the group theater, pre the kind of the method idea of that somehow your personal instrument should be connected with your acting instrument. Because before that it was much more what they would call, I guess, presentational acting. You would take on a form and you would represent that form of what that situation was, et cetera, but not necessarily integrate your own associations to it or et
That's
cetera.
Interesting. Yeah. A sort of disembodiment, a sort of presentational almost.
Exactly.
Becoming the character rather than embodying the character, or I don't know, interesting.
Yeah. Or really having a present experience with it. There wasn't a sense of the level of present experiences you needed to have was like, listen to your cue. That was kind of it.
Yeah.
Make sure you're there's a timing aspect to it. But again, different parts of the world, different cultures, different acting approaches or performance approaches. There's still a lot of presentational, qualities happening in different forms.
I've seen plenty of American actors who are embodying that particular mode as well.
Yeah. So I think the group theater happens, and then a lot more of the kind of emotional, experiential, embodied performance starts to happen. And I think when that starts to happen, then all of a sudden you have a lot more mystery that comes into play. And when you have mystery, you have opportunity for abuse, right? And power abuse, because again, who doesn't like a good mystery? Who doesn't like to be taken on a journey? But if that journey lasts forever, and you can't, as the person, the apprentice or the trainee or the acting student, at some point doesn't leave with, oh, when I do this, that happens, and when I do that, that happens, not only for themselves, but for the audience, which is kind of back to the presentational mode in the sense of craft. If that doesn't start to happen, and you just don't get agency as that apprentice ever, you're forever confined by the approval of the information holder, whoever that may be, or the mystery holder, and that's not a healthy relationship.
And the general culture of mystique as well. I think people find that what actors do is mysterious. And it is. I mean, it is mysterious. It's ineffable, but it's mysterious and ineffable because the present moment is mysterious and ineffable. That's what I think.
Oh, that's beautiful.
But there's
beautiful.
there's this culture around, like, what we do is magic and you can't really do it. And like, I can't really explain what it is. I just like really get in touch with my inner whatever. And it gets all very hand wavy, in a way that is meant, I think, to sort of protect this idea of the magical moment of like being in it and sort of dropping in and like, all of this stuff that, like there's not a lot of there, right? There's not a lot of ground. And I think what is really cool about MVM, what is really functional and useful about MVM is that it tries to give voice, so to speak, to that grounding. How do I, like you said, if I do A, then B happens. How, and then even looking back at it, talking about the audience reaction, we do a scene, whatever it is, we talk about what did the audience receive. And so I get to have an experience of like, oh, well, my memory was I did this. I put my focus on, do I stay in active breath? Do I try and keep my lips unsealed? We have all of these very specific tools, which we'll talk about as the episodes go on, that the actor can consciously employ. And then we deal with the audience feedback. And then the actor can learn a version of, if I do this, then that probably happens. Right?
Yeah, that's great. I love what you said about the present moment information, right? What's happening in this present moment, because right, because it reminds me of this paradox of when we go see a performance or we watch a performance, we need the actor to be regulated on some level, like the actor's instrument to be regulated. Otherwise, if it's too dysregulated in their craft and their instrument, we start to worry for the actor, or we start to worry for our own safety,
perhaps subconsciously.
Yes,
right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, think about it. I mean, going to a live theater is a bizarre experience. You've just invited a group of strangers to be quiet and pay attention to something. And which means that you in the audience are not supposed to pay attention to everything else around you. So as an animal, you're supposed to drop the safety antennas that you normally wear when you're walking down the street to focus on something in front of you. And equally as the actor, you're asked to do the same thing. I mean, that's an act of insanity a little bit.
It is.
And to get to the place where you can do
magic.
That. Yeah.
It's magic. It's an act of sorcery, I think.
Yeah, I like that much better than insanity.
Well, but it's both. Like, I think that's what's fascinating about it is nonsense. It is fundamentally nonsense, but also it is transportive and transcendent. Like, can be, I watch dance with my partner. My partner is a big fan of dance, and I had never really watched a lot of dance growing up, and I constantly have this feeling when you see a performance of just like what a human being is capable of doing with their body, which basically is the same as my body. Like, that feels like magic. It feels like sorcery. And I think people who watch good acting feel a version of that too. That's why and that contributes to this sort of mystique idea, right? Oh, I could never do that. Oh, I'm terrible at public speaking. I couldn't possibly do what you do. And so, actors who are, all ego driven to a certain extent, they're like, oh, you're right. You couldn't possibly do what I do, right?
Exactly.
So I think it must be both insanity and magic all at once.
I love that. And that, I mean, I often talk with some friends and colleagues about the actor being the closest thing to the mythological god that we presently have, the personification of possibility, much like you just mentioned with the dancer. And so I think about acting, and I think about like, okay, you have this regulated body, but you have this dysregulated reaction. Right. So that's what we want. We want to see this regulated person, move into a scenario, a situation, be confronted by some present information internally or externally that dysregulates them. But not to the point where now we're worried for, we break the story, we break the spell, as you put it, right? That we start to worry for ourselves. But to keep that spell alive and that kind of, mild trance state alive enough where I can start to associate myself with it. I can start to see memories of myself and possibilities with myself. And I even lose sight of the actor, of the God, and it's on some level, I'm just riffing here, but on some level, I wonder about our own interaction with a God who and whatever we think of as our gods. And it's it's, it allows us to be something. It allows us to act in certain ways. It allows us to experience our life in certain ways. It's not, 24/7 on my knees thinking about my God. It's a conduit, right? It's a facilitator on some level to a different kind of experience, and potentially a facilitator to an experience after death, which some religions believe in. So, so I think that's that's really the mystical part, as you say, about how does a human stay regulated, but act in a dysregulated way. That's to me like the highest form of life, right? To not afterwards say, damn it, so I shouldn't have said that, or now whether that's ever possible, because I always think scripts are, after you had the experience in real life, 30 seconds later or the day after, I should have said this. That's what scripts say in the script, right?
The thing that we should have said. Yeah.
That's right. Those perfectly eloquent, organized words, which almost never happen in life under duress. I'm under absolutely no duress right now. So you and I can speak about this stuff that we love and we know. The minute I start to think about, I hope I sound smarter, I hope I sound, what are they going to do? Then duress is going to happen. But I don't really, so far in this moment, I'm not caring about that. So I can have that. But plays and scripts and movies, etc., are about people who are confronted with a surprising moment of duress. So that's the dysregulation, and then somehow they come out with these beautiful, words that are interesting. So
Richard Feldman another teacher at NYU and Juilliard who taught me, would talk about Chekhov, and he would say the people in these plays they're trapped in the experience of, I thought my life was going to be X and it turns out that it's Y.
Yeah.
I've found myself in these scenarios, and now I have to deal with the reality of that.
Yeah, and if you don't deal with the reality of that, you get the most mundane Chekhov which happens quite a lot, because it's not in the words, right? So it's
not in the words.
Nope. It's really in the behavior and how you're dealing with the mundaneness of all of that, which is interesting. Yeah.
Well,
so I don't think I answered your question. So MVM came out of really that core aspect, and then as people became interested in it, John Patrick, hopefully we'll have on the show, Liam Joint, another. Those two were early contributors to the work, and also and early kind of pushers to me and of trying to expand this into something beyond just teaching in one class, really, but for them, in the sense of evolutionarily and motivationally, they were the kind of flashlights besides me saying, look what's possible. Go ahead, let's, come on, this is possible. And I remember that day they were like, they were the co-founders of the original studio. They were like, let's do this. And I remember to this moment, I just let out a huge sigh, like, because I knew that they were right. This is something that would be fun and helpful for people in the end, and helpful for me to learn and to discover. So I said, okay, if we can meet once a week for 6 months and keep discussing this, I'm on board. And true to their word, they did. And
they did.
Yeah. And the rest, as they say, is history, which we'll go over, I guess, at another time.
At another time. Yeah. I think it's probably about time to start wrapping this up. I will say we have barely touched the outline, which I think we were anticipating that being the case. But I got to say, it's been such a treat just riffing with you. So as we move through these episodes, I wish for us more of this, free flow, and also a little bit of rigor, which I think is part of what MVM teaches. How do you balance flow with rigor and specificity?
Yeah.
So A couple of just specific things to talk about before we sign off. We have a couple of MVM offerings now that you have some sense, fair listener, of what MVM is, and you'll hopefully you'll get more of a clear picture as the weeks go on. We have a couple offerings. Do you want to, Scott, talk a little bit about the presence training really briefly? What is this offering we have?
Yeah, presence training is a video series of basically me coaching you through workouts. So it'll have a lot of the foundationary exercises we work on. Think a gym workout, Body Beast or something, one of those gym workouts where there's a person, going through it and you just need to go through it at home as well. And there's different workouts. You can pick from the library. You can make your own workout, et cetera, et cetera. Subscription is
very self-guided.
We tried to make it manageable. So it's like $20 a month. Or you can buy the whole series for a lifetime, and you can stop at any time. There's a week trial just to try it out. You can cancel after like the 6th day. You won't be charged. So that's on the website, and that was created a few years ago.
MillerVoiceMethod.com.
Yeah,
yes, exactly. MillerVoiceMethod.com. Look up presence training. If you are looking for a bit of more hands-on with a teacher, we are running a couple of classes starting in January. I will be teaching an Essentials for Acting 8-week course. That starts January 26th. We have 2 sections that we're running Mondays from noon to about 2:30, and then in the evening from 6:30 to 9. Mondays, that's all Eastern time. And we're going to be also offering the MVM Gym, which is a relatively new offering that we've been doing for about a year and a half now. And it's 1-hour guided classes with a teacher. Might be myself, might be one of our other fellow teachers. We're running Wednesdays, 7:30 to 8:30 Eastern time, and Saturdays, 11 to noon. And that period will, again, be about 8 weeks starting January 28th. Information about all that is on our website as well, MillerVoiceMethod.com. And then finally, Scott, you want to just mention about the new level of teacher certification starting up?
Yeah, the way the teacher certification is organized to make it most inclusive. When Kyle was doing it, it was, you start in September and you graduate in June sometime. But that was prohibitive financially as well for people sometimes to amass, funds together in that short period of time. So we moved to a level system, and at different parts, different seasons have different levels: level 1, level 2, level 3, and then we have the in-person intensive, which is level 4. Basically all the exercise that we feel with integrity we can't teach via a hybrid model. Yeah. So the new level 1 class is forming in
mid-February.
Mid-February. Yeah, mid-February.
Apply by January 25th for $250 off your tuition.
Yeah. And it's a simple process. You fill out a one-pager information form to just start the conversation. We're big into starting the conversation rather than like, here's the form to fill out. So someone will call you up and we'll have a conversation to see if this is right for you, if now's right for you. And, or maybe the academy's a better fit, or the gym, or, something.
I also think it's worth mentioning. Sorry, what were you going to say?
I was just going to say that the thing to keep in mind is that you don't have to have MVM experience to enter the certification program. You'll get plenty of that experience in the certification program itself.
Scott, what an absolute pleasure it has been talking to you.
Same here. Thanks for some great enlightening thoughts from you. Thank you so much.
We will continue the conversation. And you know what? On our next episode, why don't we make a promise to talk about what is active breath? Because that was the second question on our outline. It is the title of our podcast. We did not touch it. So we're going to leave them wanting more.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah, hopefully wanting more. That is the hope.
Suspense.
All right. Well, again, check our website for information about the system and all of our programs, MillerVoiceMethod.com, and we will have a new episode out for you soon. Yes. Can't wait.
Thanks, Kyle.